There's one gentleman that actually is no stranger to the microphone here at the Hutchinson Report. You heard that chuckle. So that's a knowing chuckle. He's been a frequent guest here. He graces our microphones. He always is really kind of our eyes and our ears and our window into Sacramento and much more. I'm talking about State Senator Bob Hertzberg. Welcome again to the Hutchinson Report. How are you?
I'm working. I ain't making minimum wage, I want you to know. I'm working so hard.
In California and many other states, too, it seems like there's a little racket going on.
Big racket.
Okay, I'm trying to be charitable. Big racket going on. Goes like this. You know, if you got all these, not all, if you have an unpaid ticket, you know, you get hauled into courts, you can't pay, you can't this. You know, and Bob, it really kind of tipped it when we saw Ferguson and, you know, the tragic events there.
That's right.
Where how they were, I mean, God, this is almost a money laundering campaign there in the courts.
Of the 60 municipalities surveyed in the report, Ferguson was among the 3 worst counties for vehicle stops and petty fines targeting black residents.
And public officials were in on it, too. It was a big shakedown racket.
shakedown.
Okay, but anyway, in California, talk about what we're doing, Bob, what Bob Hertzberg and others are doing
here's
with
what
this.
we did.
But first of all, tell us the issue.
So what happens is we had a downturn in the economy, and we got to pay money for the courts. And so if there's a traffic ticket that costs $35 because you failed to stop at a stop sign, what we've done is said, well, we're going to fund the courts and fund all this government by adding all these penalty assessments and fees and charges. So you start out with a $35 ticket for failing to stop, and you add all the stuff we added to it, it's $238 if you got the $238. Now, you want to go to court to pay your ticket, and you're there on the last day, and you're standing in line, and the courts closed courts are closed because we've closed up so many courts, and all of a sudden the doors close before you get there. You just lost your driver's license, and the ticket just went to $800. Then you fail to appear again; it goes to $1,600 or $2,000. So what we've done is, here's the problem. So we're out there and we say, well, we want to raise this money to pay for the courts. The reality is, there's $10 billion with a B dollars outstanding unpaid traffic tickets. So we're not funding nothing on the first hand. And secondly, we've taken away over the last 8 years 4.8 million driver's licenses from Californians. If you get a ticket for $800, it might as well be $800 million because you got to feed your family and pay your rent. Don't matter, right? It doesn't matter. So here's what we've done. We just did this in the budget, and the governor did part of it, and I'm doing part of it. First, we started an amnesty program. Depending upon how much money you can afford, you can get as much as an 80% reduction on how much money you owe. So if it's $1,000, it goes down to only 20% of that, $200. Secondly, you can start a payment program, and the second you start the payment program, you agree to the payment program, you get your license back. Okay? So it's just gets rid of the whole backlogs, takes people from out of the shadows, people go to work, all the challenges. Now I've extended it even further. If you get a ticket and the ticket's wrong and the cop's wrong, or whatever it may be, could be a wrong car, could be anything, and you want to go to court to fight it, you got to put the money up first.
Yeah, and that was my next question.
Right.
Yeah.
Hertzberg to the rescue. We're changing that game. We're saying no. You can go to court, you don't have to put up a nickel. You win, you don't ever put up a nickel. You lose, then you pay, right? And you'll pay with a fair share. And then, whatever the fair fee is. And then also, if you don't appear, you have to put the money up front. We're changing that law. What if you're standing in line? What if your kid's sick? What if you're on the way to court and your car broke down? You should have a failure to appear. You were trying to make it, so you don't have to put the money up for that. So the amnesty program's already in law. It's going to start October 1st. It's happened. The governor signed it into the budget. The issues of the driver's license pieces were running through the legislature. We're now in the Appropriations Committee in the other house, and I'm convinced that we'll get it through and we'll get it signed. And take away, it goes back to the same point I made about voting. Think about folks. Think about what government, how it impacts ordinary people. And don't give them, these fines are ridiculous. And then ultimately I'm coming back next year and I'm going to readjust the fines. You should not have to pay $300 for, this kid didn't have pay a ticket to go on a metro rail and lost his license. It's out of control. We got to bring it back in balance for ordinary people, and that's what I'm doing.
If you do not have a driver's license, now you see the ripple effect. The third point, a job.
That's right.
Your income. You have children. Take them to school. There's so many. You have to go shopping. It's not like the old days where the market was right there and you could walk down there. No, you got to get in the car and do that. So I think sometimes, when these things are put into effect, and they're penalties that are put into effect to raise money. That's what it is. It's
That's all
raising
it is.
money.
That's right.
But the fact of the matter is, in some ways, it's so counterproductive, not just the human part of it, Bob, but also you're losing revenue too. Unemployment, obviously the crime rate goes up, so many other things that we don't oftentimes see as a result of that.